making rounds on social media. Andrew Yang, I think it's some candidates platform for those running to become the next mayor of New York, had this really disgusting comment basically saying that we need to be afraid of people with mental illness. And again, this isn't the first problematic thing he said or policy that he supports, and we'll look at some of the other ones after this. But I mean, Jesus Christ, he would not be getting my vote. Again, this isn't the first really reprehensible and disgusting thing he has said or policy he supports.
Yes, mentally ill people have rights, but you know who else have rights? We do. The people and families of the city. We have the right to walk the street and not fear for our safety because a mentally ill
Jesus
person
Christ.
is going to lash out at us.
So what is he suggesting? That we just institutionalize everybody with a mental illness because they might attack you or something? I mean, Jesus Christ, dude, that is fucking horrible. We'll listen one more time.
Yes, mentally ill people have rights, but you know who else have rights? We do.
Yes, so he's like saying, well, yeah, they have rights, but it's not really as important. People with mental illness might attack us, so let's like lock them up. Let's give more money to police to brutalize and kill them who do that on a disproportionate basis to people with mental illness and disabilities.
The city. We have the right to walk the street and not fear for our safety.
And so do fucking those people, you fucking nut job. Again, people with mental illness and disabilities are more likely to be killed by the fucking police. Jesus Christ.
A mentally ill person is going to lash out at them.
What the fuck? I mean, Jesus Christ. People with untreated mental illness 16 times more likely to be killed by law enforcement. I mean, Jesus Christ. There you go. So he's not talking about that, is he? So again, not the first problematic thing he said or done. It's on top of a long list, unfortunately. He's being interviewed by Jimmy Dore, and he's running for president.
Paying their workers like $9-10 an hour, and then if you say, "Hey, it's $15," like some of them might cut back shifts, or some of them might struggle. Like I've run a small private company, and a lot of these small businesses are really, really close to, like the red at any moment.
So fucking stupid. If you're in business and you can't pay your workers a measly fucking $15 an hour, get out of the fucking business. You shouldn't have a business if you can't treat your workers and compensate them decently. I mean, Jesus Christ.
And something that seems like completely common sense to us, being like, hey, just pay people $15 an hour.
Yes, at least.
Would cause some of these businesses to say, you know what, I'm going to have to cut a shift or cut a worker.
Then they shouldn't fucking exist if they can't do that. I mean, Jesus Christ.
So again, I just rather just give people the raise directly, and I think workers would prefer
So he doesn't even support a fucking $15 minimum wage. So he's kind of like Joe Biden in that regard.
Just put $1,000 a month in your hand.
Yeah, I mean, again, the UBI is you're correct on that, and you're incorrect on the other stuff. Businesses hire when there's a demand for their...
No, and I don't know what Jimmy's saying here, but the UBI would need to be, in addition, on top of a robust social safety net, a living wage, universal health care, tuition-free college, etc.
End of sentence. And if there's a demand for their product, they got to hire a worker. And nobody's going to go, boy, I have all these orders, but I can't pay that guy $15, so I'm not going to fill them. So that's illogical. That is a right-wing talking point. That is not how economics works.
Businesses are not flourishing at that level. If they're just living hand to mouth and they don't have the orders, and they have a hard time even paying the people they have, if you elevate those costs...
Jimmy's right. That is a right-wing talking point.
I mean, they cut shifts or cut workers. I mean,
that is not economic theory. That is sound. That is right-wing talking points. But, right, I have a small business. We have 6-7 employees at this place right here. And if I can't afford to pay someone a living wage, I should go out of business.
Yes.
Why should I be able to make 100%. A living wage, but the person who generates that income for me doesn't get to have a living wage?
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
Yes. 100%, Jimmy. He's right. He was talking about UBI.
So I think the best libertarian argument that I've heard for UBI is that basically if you want to do UBI, it's got the right idea. Why not just blow apart the social safety net as is? Because we know it's just a boondoggle of middle management nonsense with all the whacked out incentives that you're talking about. Why not just take all of that money, which do we even know how much money is actually put into these things?
Of course.
So how much right now?
600 billion, give or take.
Give or take. All right, so why not take the...
Which, I mean, the United States spends over 700 billion on the fucking war... on the war machine each year.
600 billion that are on programs that we know are creating as many problems probably as they're fixing, if not more, and then do it that way. Like, do you think, because it almost feels like it's like a little bit of a stopgap, that you'd still have to get to that problem eventually?
Well, that's the beauty of this, the freedom dividend proposal, is that you have the 600 billion or so, and then you're saying, hey, guess what? Like, it's now a new right of citizenship, everyone gets it. And then what's going to happen is you're going to dramatically reduce the enrollment in these programs very, very quickly, because a lot of people will be like, I prefer the cash. And then this new incoming population would just opt for the dividend and then never end up on these welfare programs. So you'd end up shrinking the enrollments over time in the way you described. You just wouldn't do it all at once because, there are a lot of people in very distinct situations.
So boom, he wants to introduce the UBI as a Trojan horse to get rid of all these programs of social uplift. That's fucking right-wing libertarian shit. Here we go. Chomsky. That's a standard technique of privatization. Defund, which Yang supports. Make sure things don't work. People get angry, hand it over to private capital. Okay, and then here's after he dropped out of the presidential race, got a job as CNN contributor.
There's a chance of the senator beating President Trump. If he goes and is the candidate, we'll have Donald Trump for another 4 years, and we can't.
So he didn't think Bernie could defeat Donald fucking Trump.
And that.
Andrew, is that true?
Well, that's his argument.
Wait,
and there are a lot of
Agree
Democrats
with the argument.
There are a lot of Democrats who are concerned that if you have Bernie at the top of the ticket, it's going to mean a very, very tough night in a lot of swing states.
Do you think it's a fair concern, or do you think it's more about what they're used to versus watching a movement in their midst?
I think it's a fair concern based upon the polling data that shows that Bernie will underperform in various swing states. The Democrats.
In fucking 2016, the polls showed that Bernie Sanders stood a much better chance of defeating Donald Trump than Hillary. That was proven to be true. And, I mean, again, I wouldn't trust any polls that said Joe Biden would be a better candidate against Bernie. But again, Bernie didn't do himself any favors saying, yeah, I think Joe could beat Trump, and he's such a good guy. He's my friend. He's amazing. That definitely didn't help.
I've been there. You're on stage, and he has a force field, and everything you say to him, it's like, let me be clear. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to talk about. It's going to have some relationship. But that was what was so fascinating. But it's not really going to be what you'd asked me about. But it's going to now go into a Bernieism. And then afterwards, you're like, okay, what just happened? No. But that was what.
So throwing fucking shade at Bernie while he got a whopping 0.45% of the vote. Didn't endorse Bernie. That's pretty telling, right? Now we move to perhaps Z-Squirrel, definitely good follow on Twitter. Perhaps the most disturbing and grotesque aspect of Andrew Yang's politics is foreign policy views. This was on his campaign site when he was running for president, something you expect from some deranged neocon. That's exactly what Yang is. While America's undoubtedly made mistakes, we've been a positive force world history, leading to the spread of peace, prosperity, and What in the fuck? Like, that's a goddamn CIA U.S. Empire talking point. He's talking about fucking Ronald Reagan. Jesus Christ, dude. Fucking Ronald Reagan. Goddamn, son. Goddamn. Again, I said, laundry list of horrible things he has said and policies he has supported and still supports. Here's Andrew Yang regurgitating some of the most depraved propaganda to defend and support the Israeli apartheid state when he was running for prez. Notice how he doesn't care at all about Palestinians and their rights or international law. Let's take a listen.
So, in terms of the money we're giving to an ally like Israel, my first instinct would
be about $3 to $4 billion a fucking year. to apartheid state that is ethnically cleansing Palestinians as we speak from their homes.
And so certainly if I communicated something else, like that's not the idea at all. There are certain relationships we have that, to me, we need to rebuild and strengthen. And I would suggest that our relationship with Israel is one of them.
And what about the
Arabs?
You'd have to look at it in a case by case
What
and say, like,
the
what's
fuck?
happening in terms of our bilateral relationship with a particular party. But my zeal is to try and build strong alliances and partnerships. If someone's been working with us for a long time, they should feel like they're being rewarded for that, frankly. And then if someone has an interest in working with us, we should be open to rewarding that too. But for each country, like, you have to look at what's going on at that time and what the lead-in has been.
So when it comes to land in Israel,
So basically, unconditional support for the apartheid state of Israel, and the Arabs, the Palestinians there can just fuck off.
that's being taken, even though it was granted to certain Palestinian families by the UN. How do you feel about constricting Israel almost to prevent that from happening, and constricting political influence by American leaders in Israel?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but I'll answer it more generally, which is, like, my stance on this is that it's going to be hard for the United States to constrict, like, an ally, or really just about...
Yeah. Don't give them $4 billion in military aid each year. Don't unconditionally support them at the UN Security Council. Don't make it so it's impossible for the ICC to go in there and investigate war crimes that the state of Israel has committed. A lot of ways he obviously doesn't care, doesn't know, maybe both.
Of its partners in a decision that they feel is central to them, and I don't think that's our priority. It's not that we're somehow...
God damn, he's so fucking horrible. When he announced his run for mayor, Andrew Yang came out with the grotesque smear against BDS as the boycott, divestment, and sanction, calling them anti-Semitic and compared them to Nazis. After being called out on it by activists, he lied and pathetically ran away. Of course he did.
From the Palestinian people in Palestine, and saying that it's akin to fascist boycotts.
Yeah, which is disgusting.
Of Jewish businesses that completely disappoint many Palestinian activists, many Arabs, many Muslims who find the cause to ending the occupation of Palestine by the Israeli government absolutely abhorrent. So we wanted to hear if you had any clarifying questions about that. But there are other mayoral candidates who haven't made such comments and who have actually affirmed that we do have the right to do yes.
First, I have never made comments to that effect.
It's actually written down in the forward.
You compared Palestinians to Nazis.
That's what she said.
And I have you compared Palestinians to fascists.
I
was trying to answer the question.
Oh, and then he just fucking walked away. Look at that, dude. Yeah, it is anti-racist. They're completely correct. Yang compared BDS to the fascist boycotts of Jewish businesses. There you go. Let's see. That's kind of long. We'll skip that one. There's enough. And then doesn't even support fucking Julian Assange as he's being persecuted, continuing to be persecuted under the Biden administration for simply exposing the crimes of the U.S. empire. This is him.
Do you support Julian Assange? I think Julian Assange should stand trial.
Look at that. That's fucking disgusting.
I'm pro whistleblower and pro people that try and call out bad behaviors. But in that particular case, he did end up disclosing some information that really had no useful purpose except for...
What are you talking about, dude?
Infrastructure like the undersea cables location and some other things. So I certainly would not be in favor of I think he should stand trial.
There you go. Fucking supports Julian Assange being persecuted for simply exposing the crimes of the U.S. empire. Jesus Christ. In short, Andrew Yang is a neoliberal ghoul who cosplays as some edgy outsider when in reality he's the most establishment shell you can think of. He's the Silicon Valley tech bro version of Biden and AOP. I think that's pretty accurate. Jesus, look at that. Wants to crack down on fucking street vendors. I mean, Jesus Christ. God damn, dude. There you go. So frankly, his type of politics and worldview, it's not really that surprising that he, thinks everybody should be scared of people with mental illness. Yeah, not us. Notice the othering language he used. Mentally ill. I like to do the people first language. People with mental illness deserve rights, healthcare, and respect. Andrew Yang talking about mentally ill people getting off the street so that other people don't have to deal with us is truly appalling. He's setting a lot of progress we made back. Yeah, it's disgusting. Yeah. People with mental illness are 2.5 times more likely to be victim of violent crime than the general public. But rather than protect a marginalized community, Andrew Yang is making attacking disabled people a cornerstone of his entire campaign. Again, I think that there's probably other trash candidates that are running. I would definitely find somebody else to vote for or not vote at all if Andrew Yang is the best option you got. There's got to be better people running, right? Yeah, the othering, yeah. You put people with mental illness in one category and everyone else in another. You said the quiet part out loud. Disabled people are to be othered. It's dangerous because that allows society to view us as easily disposable. All right. Andrew Yang's trash. That's the big takeaway message. Has lots of really reprehensible views and policies he supports. So again, this isn't very surprising. Like the video if you like the damn video. Subscribe for more content. Peace. Much love. All part of the people.